My name is Lasara Vane. I am 41 years old, and I am a single mom. I live with my 9-year-old son, Arian, in our house in Cedar Hills, Beaverton, Oregon. I had been on a 4-day work trip to New York, and I had just landed back home. I dragged my suitcase through the front door on Friday, just past 6 p.m., and I was tired from traveling. The second I clicked the door shut behind me, Arian came running. His face was white as paper, and he grabbed my sleeve tightly. He whispered, almost in a panic, "Mom, can I please stop taking the pills Aunt Saphira makes me swallow? They make me throw up, and I sleep all day." Before I could say anything, Saphira stepped out of the kitchen. Her arms were crossed, and she had a fake smile on her face. "He's just being dramatic, Cass," she said. "It's special vitamins I made. Good stuff." My mom, who was sitting nearby, stroked Arian's hair gently. "Listen to your aunt, sweetie," she said. "She only wants what's best for you." My dad, who was on the couch watching TV, nodded slowly. "Lucky he has family here," he said. "You're gone half the month anyway." All three of them exchanged a quick, tight look. I had seen that look too many times before, and it made my stomach tighten. Arian squeezed my hand so hard it hurt. I wanted to protect him, but I wasn't sure how yet. But before I continue, hit the subscribe button and tell me where are you watching this from, and what time of day is it? That night, when the house was finally quiet and Arian was asleep, I decided to check Saphira's room. I didn't want to just sit and worry anymore. On the top shelf, behind some sweaters, I found a small white bottle. There was no label, only a piece of masking tape with her handwriting that said vitamins. I twisted the cap slowly. The smell hit me immediately. It was thick and chemical smelling. It smelled like strong sleeping medicine. My blood froze and my heart started to race. This was not just vitamins. I sat in Arian's room all night, holding the bottle tightly. I stayed against the door, keeping an eye on him as he slept. Every time he shifted or moved, I checked that he was still breathing. I couldn't sleep. I couldn't stop thinking about what Saphira had been giving him. By 5:30 a.m., I couldn't wait any longer. I woke Arian gently and told him we were going to a quick checkup before breakfast. He was still half asleep, so I carried him to the car. 25 minutes later, we arrived at Providence St. Vincent Medical Center. Dr. Vela and Tallis looked at Arian immediately. His eyelids were pale, his speech was heavy, and he was moving very slowly. They didn't ask questions first. They ordered immediate blood work and wheeled him to the pediatric observation area. They needed to monitor him closely. I paced the hallway, holding the unlabeled bottle in my coat pocket like it was evidence. The minutes felt like hours. 3 long hours crawled by. Finally, Dr. Vela called me into her office. She closed the door and slid the lab report across the desk. I looked at the numbers and my heart stopped. The report showed that Arian had a diphenhydramine level of 2,450 nmol. She didn't try to make it sound better. That number is 7 times the safe limit for an adult. In a 9-year-old, repeated doses of this strength could cause permanent problems with thinking, memory, and paying attention. Dr. Vela looked at me seriously. "Someone has been giving your son adult-strength sleeping medicine," she said. My legs gave out, and I sank into the chair. Dr. Vela didn't stop. She picked up the phone and called Child Protective Services herself. She also called campus security. Within minutes, a social worker and a Washington County deputy were in the room. I handed them the bottle. Dr. Vela gave them the lab report and a sealed evidence bag. The deputy took photos of everything. The social worker told me that Arian would need to stay admitted for monitoring and for a full toxicology panel. They needed to figure out exactly how long he had been exposed to the medicine. I managed to take photos of the paperwork on my phone before they took the originals. Dr. Vela gave me a duplicate summary to keep. The drive home to Beaverton felt endless. I got back just after 3 p.m. Saphira was lying on the couch scrolling on her phone. My mom was folding laundry, and my dad was watching a golf rerun. I dropped my keys on the counter louder than I needed to and walked straight to the coffee table. I placed the folded lab summary face up. Saphira sat up slowly, my mom froze mid-fold, and my dad muted the TV. Saphira's eyes scanned the page, and the color drained from her face. My dad snatched it up and frowned, muttering, "Lab error. Happens all the time." Mom moved behind Saphira, her hands on Saphira's shoulders. "Honey, you're just trying to help him rest better. Doctors blow everything out of proportion." Saphira's voice cracked. "It's just a stronger vitamin. Cass is overreacting." I kept my voice calm but firm. "CPS is already involved. The police have the bottle. This isn't going away." There was dead silence. Then Dad leaned forward, elbows on his knees. You're willing to destroy your own family over a misunderstanding? Mom's hands tightened on Sapphira. Think about Arian. All this stress isn't good for him. Sapphira wiped her eyes, but I could see her thinking behind the tears. Dad glanced at Mom and gave a tiny shake of his head. Message received. Say nothing more. I turned and walked upstairs. Behind me, I heard Dad whisper, let it blow over. She'll calm down. I closed my bedroom door, locked it, and started backing up every photo to the cloud. I needed to make sure I had proof of everything. Sunday morning, they all left for Costco. Dad was driving, Mom was in the front passenger seat, and Sapphira was in the back with her reusable shopping bags. I waited until the SUV turned the corner, then moved fast. I had paid extra for same-day pickup at Best Buy in Tanasbourne for Arlo Essential indoor cameras. They were matte white, small like hockey pucks, and designed to be hidden easily. I grabbed the ladder from the garage and worked quietly. The first camera went on the basement ceiling above the old leather couch, covering the whole area. The second camera went in the corner near the mini fridge, aimed at the stairs. The third camera went high in the living room, looking at the front entrance and hallway. The fourth camera went in the upstairs hall, showing all the bedroom doors and the top of the stairs. Each camera took about 10 minutes to set up. There were no wires and no blinking lights. The battery life was advertised to last 6 months. I paired all 4 cameras to a brand new account, changed the password to something only I would know, and turned on motion alerts and 24-hour cloud recording. By the time I heard the garage door open, all 4 cameras were live and completely hidden. Monday morning, I dropped Arian off at Cedar Mill Elementary and drove to downtown Portland like everything was normal. At 9:03 a.m., my phone vibrated. Motion alert at the front door. Sapphira was there in pajama shorts and one of my old college hoodies. She opened the door for a man I had never seen before. He had dark hair, a navy coat, and was carrying 2 paper cups from Dragonfly Coffee. Sapphira took the coffee, kissed him, and led him downstairs. I switched to the basement camera feed. The couch camera caught everything in crisp 1080p. Sapphira set the coffees on the trunk, gently pushed him onto the couch, and climbed onto his lap. He laughed softly when she whispered something into his ear. She tugged his coat off and flicked on some string lights she had hung last month. The warm glow made the scene look staged, intimate, and carefully planned. She glanced up once, directly toward the ceiling where the camera was hidden, and smirked before burying her face in his neck again. Tuesday, he came at 10:41 a.m., carrying the same coffee from Dragonfly and walking straight to the basement. Sapphira had music playing that I hated. They danced slowly in the middle of the rug barefoot, with wine glasses in hand. They laughed at private jokes that I couldn't hear. Wednesday, he arrived at noon with takeout from the Thai restaurant on Murray. They ate cross-legged noodles on the basement floor, feeding each other noodles. Thursday, he arrived at 9:29 a.m., carrying a small black duffel bag. Sapphira locked the front door and led him downstairs. The duffel stayed there all day. Every morning, I sat at my standing desk, pretending to review marketing presentations while watching my house on the second monitor. I saved every clip to an encrypted folder, time-stamped with the date. My heart never slowed. I drank coffee I couldn't taste. I answered work messages with one hand while checking the live feed with the other. By Thursday night, I had over 30 hours of footage. I still had no clear audio of what they were planning, but the pattern was obvious. The house belonged to them the moment my car left the driveway. I closed my office early, drove home through sheets of Oregon rain, and parked 3 houses down under the dripping maple trees. I opened my laptop on the passenger seat and watched the basement feed, waiting for Friday. I didn't go inside after work. Friday morning, at 8:17 a.m., Zephyr walked in carrying 2 coffees and a small paper bag. Sapphira met him wearing only my oversized flannel and led him downstairs. I switched to the basement wide-angle camera. She set the coffees on the trunk, flicked on the string lights, and pushed him onto the couch. He laughed. Your sister's definitely gone until at least 6 o'clock, he said. They were alone all day. Sapphira kissed him slowly and whispered, Everything's on track, babe. Arian failed another spelling test last week. The teacher already emailed about possible learning issues. Another month of this dosage, and no pediatrician will question a developmental delay diagnosis. Zephyr traced the chain around her neck, the one I had never seen before. It glimmered under the light, delicate but strong. I stared at it for a moment, my mind buzzing, because it reminded me of something very serious that was happening right under my nose. Mom and Dad were planning to take control of Arian. They said it was because he could not make decisions on his own, but I knew the truth. They wanted his money. Arian had a special trust fund, and that money was supposed to be for him to use when he needed it most, like for school, doctors, and anything that would help him grow up happy and healthy. In Oregon, the law says that if a parent is not taking care of a child properly, and the child has special needs, the court usually gives other family members the right to take care of the child instead. It is called guardianship. Guardianship means you get to make decisions for someone who cannot make them on their own, like a child or someone who is sick. Normally, the court wants to make sure the person in charge will take care of the child well. But if your parents are willing and they seem responsible, sometimes they get it even if they shouldn't. Once Mom and Dad had control of Arian, they would also control his trust fund. That trust fund had almost half the money from our house. That money originally came from Dad's life insurance when he passed away. It was supposed to be saved for Arian's future, not spent on things that made Mom and Dad happy. But guardians get to decide what taking care really means, and they were planning to decide it in a way that only helped themselves. Saphira smiled like she was talking about going on a fun vacation. "We sell the house," she said. "Pay off Dad's $70,000 debt from that land deal in Idaho that went wrong, give Mom and Dad some money, and the rest is ours." Lasara, she said, would keep her job in her suitcase. Zephyr raised his eyebrows at that. He knew it sounded sneaky. Mom and Dad had been dropping hints for months, telling me how unfair it was that I was struggling while Lasara got the house after the divorce. It made me feel sick inside because I could see exactly what they were planning. Saphira reached for my phone. I had left it logged into my banking app because I trusted her to use it for groceries. She turned the screen toward Zephyr. $4,200 to Bridgeport Jewelers, Tudor Black Bay. "Happy birthday, baby," she said, showing the charge. He kissed her hard on the lips, and the couch creaked under the force. "You're crazy." "I love it," he whispered. Saphira laughed. "Just wait until escrow closes," she said. Escrow is the word adults use when money is moving around during a house sale. I knew exactly what she meant. She was counting on the house selling so she could get that money. I sat in the dark car, rain streaking the windshield, watching the video I had secretly recorded again and again. Every word was crystal clear. I couldn't believe my own family would plan something so horrible. I screen recorded the entire conversation, so I would have proof. Then I checked the bank transaction. It was posted on Wednesday at 2:14 p.m., and the notification went to my old Gmail account that I had abandoned after the divorce. I hadn't bothered to update it, and now it was showing me exactly what they were up to. That same night, after Arian was asleep, the hallway camera caught Mom and Dad in the kitchen. They thought everyone was in bed, and that no one could see them. Dad poured a small glass of bourbon and spoke in a low, careful voice. "As soon as we have the neuropsych report, we file," he said. "A neuropsych report is a test that shows if a child has special needs." He continued, "I already talked to the attorney in Tigard. Lasara travels too much, works too much. Classic neglect. The judge will side with the family." Mom nodded, twisting her wedding ring. "Saphira deserves this house more anyway. She's been here every day." Dad clinked his glass against hers. "To new beginnings." I saved that clip too, calling it Kitchen 132, and added it to my encrypted drive. My hands were ice cold, but for the first time that week, I felt steady. I had proof. They could not deny it. Saturday morning, I walked into the kitchen while they were eating cereal. I set my phone on the island, turned the volume all the way up, and hit play on the basement video. Saphira's voice filled the room, echoing off the walls. "Once they control Arian, they control his trust. Lasara keeps her job and her suitcase." Everyone froze. They were caught. The color drained from their faces. They could not stop the video from playing. I walked through the front door at exactly 3:07 p.m. The smell of garlic and oregano hit me first. Mom was at the stove stirring marinara sauce. Dad was at the island cutting cubed bread for garlic toast. And from the basement came Saphira's unmistakable laugh. I dropped my toad on the bench, kicked off my shoes, and pulled my phone from my pocket. One tap, and the volume went to maximum. The Thursday clip started rolling through the built-in house speakers I had connected to the cameras. Saphira's voice boomed through every room. "Court-approved sale for care purposes. Dad pays off his Idaho debt. Mom gets her cruise fund, and we walk away with the rest." The wooden spoon clattered into the pot. Mom spun around, and sauce splattered the backsplash. Dad's knife froze midair. Heavy footsteps pounded up the stairs. Sapphira burst into the kitchen first, Zephyr half a step behind, shirt untucked, cheeks flushed. She saw the phone in my hand, and the blood drained from her face. Dad recovered first. "Turn that off now," he shouted. Mom put her hand over her mouth. "Lasara, you recorded your own family." I didn't move. The clip kept playing. Dad's midnight bourbon toast about guardianship, Mom quietly agreeing. Every word echoed off the vaulted ceiling. Sapphira lunged for the phone. I lifted it higher. "Touch me, and it goes straight to the Washington County Sheriff," I said. Zephyr shifted toward the back door. His eyes darted around. Sapphira grabbed his wrist. "You're not leaving me here." Dad's face turned purple with anger. "You have no right to spy on us in our own house." "This is my house," I said, voice calm but deadly serious. "My name is on the deed. My son, you've been poisoning him and planning to sell my life." Mom started sobbing big dramatic tears. "We were only trying to secure everyone's future." Sapphira's voice cracked. "You're never here. I've been the one raising him while you chase promotions in New York." Dad slammed the knife down on the counter. "You call the police and you destroy 4 lives. Who will believe you?" Sapphira's eyes narrowed. "And when they dig into your travel schedule, your overtime, your canceled nanny days, good luck keeping custody." Mom nodded. "We only want what's best for the boy." I looked at the 3 people who had raised me, shared holidays, birthdays, and funerals, and I felt the last thread snap inside me. "You want what's best for yourselves," I said. "And you just confessed to it on camera." Dad's fists clenched. "You'll regret this," he said, but I didn't flinch. Mom collapsed into a chair, sobbing. "My own daughter," Sapphira screamed. "This house should have been mine anyway." Finally, Zephyr broke free and ran for the back door. The screen slammed behind him. I ended the recording and dialed 911 in front of all of them. "911, what's your emergency?" I said. "I need officers and Child Protective Services at 142A7 SW Aspen Lane, Beaverton. My son has been poisoned by relatives attempting to steal his inheritance. I have video and audio evidence." Sapphira tried to run toward us. Dad grabbed her arm. Mom kept crying. The dispatcher stayed calm. "Units are en route, ma'am. Stay on the line." The first patrol car rolled up exactly 11 minutes later, lights cutting through the drizzle. A second unit followed, then an unmarked CPS sedan. 2 officers stepped onto the porch while the social worker hung back, taking notes. I met them at the door, USB in hand, recording everything on my phone. I walked Sergeant Ramirez straight to the living room. Dad stood rigid by the couch, Mom clutched tissues, Sapphira looked like a caged animal, mascara streaking her cheeks. I handed over the USB. 27 video files, 11 audio files, all time-stamped. Child endangerment. Conspiracy to commit guardianship fraud. Attempted theft of a minor's trust. Everything they needed was right there. Ramirez plugged the USB into his tablet. The Thursday clip started playing on the big screen I had set up. Sapphira's voice filled the room again. "The court approves the sale for care purposes. Dad pays off his Idaho debt. Mom gets her cruise fund, and we walk away with the rest." Dad lunged for the remote, but the second officer blocked him without effort. The social worker, Ms. Chun, knelt beside Arian, who had wandered downstairs clutching his stuffed orca. She spoke softly, asking simple questions. He answered in a small voice. "Aunt Sapphira makes me take the white pills when Mom's gone. They make my head fuzzy." Chen's face hardened. "We are transporting the minor for immediate medical evaluation. Providence St. Vincent has a bed ready." Sapphira screamed. "You can't take him." Ramirez calmly read her rights. Mom collapsed into a dining chair, sobbing into her hands. I signed the temporary safety plan on the spot. Arian hugged me tight, whispering, "Are you coming with me every second, buddy?" While the officers secured the scene, I grabbed Arian's overnight bag and followed them to the CPS car. Sapphira tried to run after us, but an officer gently blocked her path. Her scream echoed down the street as we pulled away. At the hospital, they drew new blood, ran tests, and admitted Arian for observation. By 9 that night, the on-call judge signed an emergency protective order over video link. No contact between Arian and the 3 named adults for at least 72 hours, review scheduled within 5 days, with a probable extension to 5 years if the risk persists. I sat in the vinyl chair beside Arian's bed, holding his hand while he slept under warm blankets, safe and comfortable, for the first time in weeks without the chemical fog from the pills. I finally knew he was safe. The nurse brought me a blanket, too. I wrapped it around my shoulders and stared at the machine beeping steadily and strongly beside the bed. The sound was calm and even, and it made me feel a little safe. Back home, the police were helping pack our things. Everything I had belonged to me and Arian, and they had to make sure Saphira and our parents didn't take anything they weren't supposed to. Dad carried out 2 big suitcases in silence. His face was tight, and he didn't say a word. Mom followed behind with a laundry basket full of clothes, and her eyes were red and puffy from crying so much. Saphira, my sister, didn't want to pack at all. She sat on the basement couch, screaming that everything in the house belonged to her. "It's mine," she yelled over and over. The officers explained that she could leave willingly, or they could make her leave. Finally, she gathered a duffel bag and her purse and stormed out, slamming the door so hard the front window shook. By midnight, the house was completely empty. The faint smell of garlic still lingered in the kitchen, and the quiet was so heavy, so peaceful, that I realized I hadn't heard silence like this in months. The next morning, I went through the house and changed every lock on every door before Arian came home. I needed to make sure we were safe. We couldn't trust anyone else with our home. The emergency hearing was scheduled in Courtroom 3 at the Washington County Juvenile and Family Court building in Hillsborough. I walked in holding Arian's hand tightly, with Alo and Cairn standing by my side. The room smelled of old wood and lemon polish. Saphira sat at the table for the person in trouble, and a young lawyer, probably barely 30 years old, was sitting next to her. Mom and Dad sat behind her in the gallery, dressed like they were going to a funeral. Judge Elena Morales came in wearing her black robe. Her silver hair was pulled back neatly. She didn't waste any time. "This is an OS 419B100 emergency protective custody review. Ms. Cairn, you may proceed," she said firmly. Aloan stood up. "Your Honor, we are asking to turn the emergency order into a 5-year restraining order, which will automatically renew if there is still danger. We also ask for money to cover emotional harm, medical costs, and therapy for Arian." Aloan clicked the remote. The big screen in the courtroom lit up with the video from the basement. Saphira's voice was very clear. Aloan explained, "Once they are appointed conservators, the house is the biggest asset. We must protect it." The public defender, Saphira's lawyer, tried to say the video might not have been handled properly. The judge listened carefully and said no. She had already reviewed the forensic report from the Washington County Digital Forensics Unit. The evidence was real, and the chain of custody was intact. Next, they showed the video from the kitchen at midnight. Dad was holding a glass of bourbon and raising it on toast. Mom covered her face, embarrassed and scared. Dad just stared straight ahead, his jaw tight. The whole scene was hard to watch. Aloan called Dr. Vela Dror to the stand. Dr. Vela explained all the toxicology reports. She said the medicine Saphira gave to Arian could cause permanent damage to his brain and body. She said it was done on purpose, and without a doctor's approval. It was child abuse under Oregon law. Saphira's lawyer tried to say that I wasn't a good parent, and that I had been absent. Aloan showed the judge travel logs, child care contracts, and Arian's perfect school attendance before the poisoning began. It proved I was always there for Arian. Saphira took the stand next. She cried and said the pills were just herbal sleep aids. "I only wanted to help," she said softly. The judge asked a simple question. "Then why is there no label, no instructions, and no prescription for these pills?" Saphira didn't have an answer. She just stared down at the table. Mom and Dad refused to testify after the judge warned them about lying under oath. Their silence spoke louder than words ever could. After 20 minutes, Judge Morales returned. "The court finds clear and convincing evidence of immediate danger to the child's physical and emotional welfare. The emergency order is converted into a permanent protective order under OS 107.718. Saphira Vane, Isolde Vane, and Kaylin Vane are prohibited from any contact with Arian Vane for 5 years. It will renew automatically if continued risk is shown. Civil judgment is entered against Saphira Vane in the amount of $48,000 for medical costs, therapy, and pain and suffering. CPS will continue its parallel criminal investigation." The judge banged her gavel. Saphira fell forward, crying into her hands. Mom reached for her, but then she thought better of it and sat back down. Dad just stared at the floor. We walked out into the hallway. Arian hugged my leg tightly. "Are we safe now, Mom?" he asked. I knelt down so I could look him straight in the eye. "Yes, Arian. We are finally safe." 1 week later, the preschool where Saphira had worked for 6 years received the official CPS substantiation letter. Oregon law requires immediate firing if an employee is found guilty of child abuse. Her personnel file was flagged permanently. No licensed preschool in the state would hire her again. I filed the civil judgment the same day. Collection started 30 days later. October sunlight poured through the new skylight I had installed in the upstairs hallway. Arian picked it himself from the catalog, and he loved it. He turned 10 last month. 10 candles on a chocolate cake shaped like the Portland Timbers logo. He blew them all out in one breath. His cheeks were pink, his eyes bright, and there was no trace of the fog that had once clouded them. Cedar Hills looked the same from the street, but inside everything had changed. The walls were painted soft blues and greens. The locks were new, the alarm code was new, and the doorbell camera was new. I set up a trust for Arian that is now protected until he turns 18. Oregon Law 130510 says that no one can touch the money in the trust without my signature and a judge's order. Saphira lives in a tiny 400-square-foot studio off 82nd Avenue. The walls are thin, and the parking lot smells like fried food. The $48,000 civil judgment hangs over her like a dark cloud. Wage garnishment started 3 months ago. 15% of every paycheck is taken before she even sees it. Her preschool license is permanently revoked. She works nights stocking shelves at a 24-hour grocery store. Her name tag just says Saphira because her full name reminds people of the news articles. Mom and Dad now rent a tiny one-bedroom apartment in the Rockwood neighborhood. Dad sold his truck to pay the first month's rent. Mom's bridge club stopped calling. They eat mostly canned soup and whatever is on sale at WCO. I heard they keep the thermostat at 62 degrees to save on the electric bill. They never ask about Arian, and I never bring it up. Some Sundays, I drive Arian to the coast. We walk barefoot on Cannon Beach even when it's cold. We hunt for agates, smooth stones with colors that sparkle in the sun. We eat clam chowder out of bread bowls at Moe's. Arian talks nonstop now about school, about soccer tryouts, and about the Lego spaceship he is designing. His 4th-grade teacher sent home a note last week. It said Arian has shown remarkable improvement in focus and confidence. I keep that note on the fridge next to his latest A+ spelling test. Every time I see it, I smile. People sometimes ask me if I miss them, my parents and my sister. The answer is simple. I miss the idea of them. I miss the version that existed before greed and anger turned them into strangers. But the people who plotted to poison my child were never family. Blood doesn't buy loyalty, and it doesn't excuse betrayal. If something in your house doesn't feel right, listen to it. Write down everything. Protect your kids first. Ask questions later. Sometimes the people closest to you can hurt you the most, and the law can't fix a childhood that has already been stolen. Arian and I are building a new normal together, just the two of us. Our rules, our laughter, our home. Some nights, he still comes into my bed after a bad dream. I hold him until his breathing evens out. Then I stare at the ceiling and remind myself, we made it through the worst. The rest is just living, and now living is safe, bright, and ours. Every day we laugh, play, and enjoy our home. Arian tells me about his day at school, the friends he made, the soccer drills he likes, and the Lego projects he plans. I watch him grow confident, happy, and curious. I have a sense of peace now that I never had before. Our house is full of light, warmth, and safety. Sometimes when I look at Arian asleep in his bed, I think about how much danger he was in and how brave he was to get through it. I think about how we fought for him, for us, and for our life together. It makes me proud, and it makes me want to keep protecting him no matter what. We made it through the worst, and now the rest of life is ours to enjoy. We are safe together and free from fear.